Well, National Senator Bridget McKenzie and Labor Senator Katy Gallagher join us now. Katy, I'm going to start with you because we know it's been a bruising campaign, but looking at you, are you actually okay?
Yeah, thanks for having me on, guys. Yes, I'm okay, but raising awareness for skin cancer as we speak. My nose looks a lot better this week than it did last week, but it's a reminder for everybody, if you're worried, go and get your skin checked, and there's no time, including like an election campaign, to get a skin cancer removed from your nose. I'm living proof of that.
You are. Now, Bridget, we're going to head to you now. This was an extraordinary turnaround that we saw from the Prime Minister today. You've got to tell us, where has this self-reflective, lesson-learning, eager to change Scott Morrison been hiding the last couple of years?
Oh, Lisa, great to be with you, and Katy, hope it's all good your end. But in terms of the Prime Minister's comments today, there's nothing new in here. He's been actually speaking quite regularly about the lessons he's learnt over the recent years as we've made our way through the pandemic. And we needed to be strong as a government to get over one of the most difficult periods in our nation's history. But obviously, there's always room for improvement. And as we move into the next phase of recovering from the global pandemic, we're going to be making adjustments as needed.
No, but Bridget, this is the first time that he's actually said that he needs to change and he's going to change. It seems to me a concession that you knew all along that the elephant in the room was Scott Morrison's approach and his style, and you've only addressed it at the 11th hour. That might be a little late.
Well, Barry, I don't make any apologies for being part of a government that's had to make very tough decisions in very, very difficult times. Now, the PM recognises that lessons have been learnt. He's acknowledged that we haven't always got things right and that we can do better, which we will.
Now, Katy, you've been saying that this guy, Scott Morrison, needs to listen more, he needs to change. Isn't this, what we've heard from him today, exactly what you've been asking for?
Well, I think what it shows is really the desperation of the Liberal campaign now. I mean, we've had 3 weeks of the Prime Minister telling us that, better the devil you know, this is the person I am, I've made the tough decisions, I'm the strong guy. And then today, all of a sudden, it's like, oh, yeah, no, sorry, I'll change after if you give me another chance. I mean, what a shocker. It just completely shows the guy that we're dealing with. He'll say whatever he wants before an election to hope that he can slip over afterwards. But, I think people see him for what he is now, and, he makes a whole lot of promises, never delivers. And on the eve of an election campaign, he tells everyone he's going to be a different person after telling us that we should never change. I mean, if you're going to want change, you've got to change the government. That's the story at this election. You've got to vote for Anthony Albanese.
Speaking of Anthony Albanese, Katy, it seemed like he almost stumbled into that commitment to a 5.1% wage increase for the lowest paid workers this week. We all watched you and Jim Chalmers have to mop it up for the rest of the week. Is that the kind of way you'd come up with policy and announcements in government? It looked pretty messy.
Well, not at all, Hamish. I mean, we've been saying for some time, and Anthony's been saying for some time, that people shouldn't go backwards. And effectively what we've seen this week is the real choice in this election campaign, which is a Prime Minister saying...
You haven't been saying for some time that there should be a 5% wage increase, and that is what Anthony Albanese said this week, and it did look like it was an accident.
Not at all, Hamish. I mean, the cost of living is going through the roof. And we have been saying for some time that wages need to keep up with the cost of living. We're talking about minimum wage workers here on $20 an hour. A 5% increase on their wages would raise it by about $1 an hour. I mean, is the Prime Minister seriously saying that people earning $20 an hour should face 2 years of their wages going backwards after 10 years of wages stagnating? This has been Labor's position for a long time now, Hamish. In a government, we want to see wages moving, particularly for those who are trying to survive on the minimum wage.
Yeah, but Katy, you're talking about a cut to an increase to the minimum wage of 5.1%, but industry groups are pointing out that if you do that, they automatically, those rises flow on to a whole bunch of other wage and salary earners, and that's where inflation kicks in. Do you agree with that?
Yeah, I've seen a lot of the commentary this week, and we've been saying as long as that wages and productivity, or productivity plus inflation, are feeding into wages, then there isn't that inflationary impact. Yes, productivity is part of the solution here, and we need to keep focused on that. But we also need to we also need to accept that wages have been flatlining for a decade and now they're going backwards, and this government doesn't have a plan, and we're saying we want wages to keep up with the cost of living. I think it's more controversial, actually,
Katy,
to be arguing that wages shouldn't be keeping up with the cost of living, which is what Bridget and the government have been arguing all week.
No,
That's the more
Katy,
controversial point.
I am very happy to talk about our government's position on this issue. The Labor Party has had 6 different positions on this issue just in the last 48 hours. So, Katy, I would like to know from the Labor Party, are you putting a submission into the Fair Work... Can I finish, please? The Fair Work Act, to the Fair Work Commission on this? Is it going to put a figure in it? Because Tanya didn't want to put a figure in it this morning at 5.1%. Are you going to peg it to inflation or not? These are serious questions. Of course, the cost of living is going up and wages do need to increase. We all want to see wages go up so that people can afford to meet their commitments for them and their families. But this guy doesn't even know how wages are set in this country. The government doesn't set wages. The Fair Work Commission sets the wage. Seriously? The Fair Work Commission does set the minimum wage.
Yeah.
Now, we've seen 6 different positions from the Labor Party on this issue. All I'd like to see tonight is from the Shadow Finance Minister, what is your position? Are you putting a submission in? Is it going to be at 5.1% or is it actually going to be pegged to inflation? It's Economics 101.
I love how you've started interviewing me, Bridget. That's very clever. I didn't sign up for that,
It's the question that remains unanswered,
anyway,
Katy.
Both of you, before either of you take my job, I'm gonna wrap this up with one question. The PM and the opposition leader were asked at the end of the debate this week to say something nice about each other, indicate what their best qualities were. Now, we've all seen you over the last 5-6 weeks here on this show. We know you both like to keep it pretty real. So let's be honest, what do you really detest about each other? What really irritates you about each other, Katy and Bridget?
I can answer this. What irritates me about Katy is her hair.
Hey,
Her hair
not so fast.
is always immaculate. You didn't hear me.
Was it what we detest?
Yeah, that sounded far more like a compliment. Come on, Katy, show us a real dig. What really frustrates you about Bridget?
Oh, look, I'm struggling with that. I was all prepared for something nice. Like, Bridget and I genuinely like each other. That's the problem here, trying to find something we detest. I don't detest anything about Bridget. I find her a lot of fun. She's good to work with. We have very different politics. We disagree on probably almost everything, except I think we agree that we all deserve, and both deserve, a nice glass of wine at the end of this campaign.
And if you wanted a bottle, we would totally understand. There is just 1 week to go, ladies. Katy and Bridget, thank you both for your time. We'll see you next Friday for the last outing.
See ya.
Thanks for having me.